That was Adrian Lydon on the streets of Dublin this afternoon. Dave Pennyfeather, you're chairman of IRMA, but more importantly, I suppose, you're also managing director of Universal Records in Ireland. You have young people there. Tough luck to you. We don't care. We're just going to do it anyway.
You keep doing it, though, and eventually the well will dry. There will be no money for reinvestment. There will be no way of getting the new bands out there and exposing them to the bigger public that they want to be with. So if you keep stealing from the jar, eventually it's going to empty.
But is there any proof that downloading is affecting your sales, affecting the bottom line?
Well, I think the facts and figures that were in the report there indicate that with the industry being down about 25% over the past 2 to 3 years, that is sure indication to us that it's having an effect.
But in Ireland, the indications are that it's competition from online salespeople that's actually responsible for the drop in sales here in Ireland, at least.
The online sales would be sure competition, but again, that's a bit of an unfair comparison, because the online sales in the main don't pay VAT. Therefore, we're stuck out there with a 21% VAT content, which means that we're always going to be 21% dearer than the online seller. So it just basically means that if they are going to be allowed operate in the territory, that it should be a more level playing field.
Let's go to Thomas Brunkard, who's an independent music promoter. You heard what IRMA are saying in the report in here today. Young bands won't make it because the record industry won't have the money if downloading continues.
Well, from our perspective, from trying to launch young bands, which is what we do, I fully accept that. You definitely need a lot of investment to launch a band, you know. However, I would say that the industry needs to engage with this problem in a different direction. Instead of trying to tackle it with, you know, expensive and bad publicity lawsuits, they should instead consider more holistic approaches. It would be taking advantage of these technologies.
But if you accept that there are 4 million blank CDs bought in 6 months, according to the IRMA report, there's 8 million CDs with music on it sold. That's a huge rip-off, it seems, to a lot of people watching that. It's affecting young bands and independent music, isn't it?
This is true, but the market is also being, like, the pocket money budget of many young people is being tapped from other sources too, the rise of mobile phones, call credit and things like that, and of course internet usage, and these should be taken advantage of as well, I would say. I mean, I'd say there'd be no problem with a record company running a service where if you exchange, you know, call credit for a text message with code, you could download the MP3 and pay for it.
I think the point many people are asking is, if the record industry had more money because there was no downloading, for example, they would put it into new music, wouldn't they?
That remains to be seen. I think that, you know, from my perspective, I deal with a lot more rock acts, and the industry seems to, when it had the money, if you like, focus more on short-term, single-based pop artists who, you know, are most likely to be hit by MP3s if their sales are based on singles. Whereas if there was more investment in, you know, homegrown rock bands which are more album-based, then the problem would be, you know, less prevalent, you know.
I want to just put one point that was put to us by some people on the street there, that the problem is expensive CDs. It's not just those people saying it. Can I just quote you, Dermot Jewell from the Consumer Association? He says, if the record companies brought the price of CDs down to a fair and reasonable level, then they will be able to eliminate piracy for good.
We have. They are, and there are legal ways of purchasing online.
Not according to those people on the street.
Well, anybody can buy a track by track and probably pay somewhere in the, like Apple iTunes, and probably pay somewhere in the region of €1 a track. Make your own music, make your own CDs. Fantastic. We were absolutely brilliant as far as we're concerned, superb. It's just the idea of everybody taking it for free and not helping us to reinvest. And what Tom says to a point is right. But how would we have great new bands on the marketplace like Scissor Sisters, etc., if constant reinvestment wasn't going on?
But I'm just making the point that people on the streets are citing high CD prices for the reason they illegally download. Chicken and egg here, isn't it?
Chicken and egg, but take away, you know, we do have overheads that aren't there with anybody else. The retailers themselves are investing in bricks and mortar, they're investing in staff. We're investing in marketing, we're investing in promotion, and we're investing, more importantly, in the origination of the masters, which is quite considerable. So to put something out there and to launch a new product, globally with most record companies, the investment levels are sky high, yet the return probably ends up with about a 94–95% failure rate on projects that don't break even.
So if you have sympathy for the record company, that arithmetic they just put out there?
Yes, but what I would say to Dave is, instead of you know, trying to you know, go on about the investment and whatever, that they should focus on actually, that there is nowhere in Ireland, by the way, that you can actually buy MP3s at the moment. iTunes is an American-only innovation at the minute. But at the moment, the sales of iPods, like, they're one of the most popular gifts last Christmas, if my research is correct. So what I would say is that you should definitely start to move to sell MP3s. MP3s are cheaper than CDs. There's no mechanical cost, there's no shop cost. It's a higher profit margin. It's, you know, with the fastest uptake on broadband in Europe. Take advantage is what I'd say.
Isn't it better to co-opt? That's the good point there. To co-opt the technology rather than fight the technology.
This is what we're saying. But there's no point in fighting a technology when suddenly everybody will still retain the idea that they can take it down for free. The point is that if you take for free, eventually something has to break, something has to give. What we're saying is we will harness. We've been very slow off the mark. We have been speaking about e-commerce for 15 years.
Well, why are you
now we're only doing
it. If you accept that it's possible to go up this technology, why are you going after it there in the States? You might go after 12-year-olds.
We probably will. We'll probably have to, because we'll be driven into a corner. I'm not saying 12-year-olds, and you can't just cite and say that a person of that 12-year-old could be a serial downloader.
The report shows that 60% of 15 to 24-year-olds download, according to your own report. Are they going to be pursued and fined at €1,900 or possibly jailed for 12 months?
If we have to do it, we have to do it. If you're shoplifting, which is basically what this is, of course you'll be prosecuted.
Thomas, would you say that the law's been broken? It has to be.
It is, well, of course, but I'd say offer an alternative first. You know, when cassette taping came out, well, certainly do if you are, then whatever. But the alternative isn't there yet. And if you start to roll out and start suing people now at this stage, your publicity, the credibility of your artists to teenagers that are very politically conscious will be severely damaged.
And I'm going to have to leave that as the last word. I'm sorry, Jen.